Hey, you knuckleheads. Welcome into the Kickin It with Kiz Podcast, brought to you by Argonaut Wine Liquor, Buffalo Trace Bourbon, and a new sponsor, my friends at Midwest One Bank. On this week's edition of the Kickin It pod, I'm going to talk to you about a Denver athlete that maybe you don't know, but I think you should know, and I think you're going to be happy to get to know. His name is Brandon Royval. He's born and raised. He's a UFC fighter. He's 31 years old, and he's finally getting his chance to fight for the title at UFC 296 in Las Vegas on Saturday night. If he wins, he can become the very first Denver fighter to be a UFC champion. I sat down and talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I think you'll enjoy the interview. We'll also chat a little bit about the Broncos, because we got to talk Broncos. This is Denver. And one more thing. We're going to have a little discussion, as we do every week, about bourbon or barbecue. Why are we going to do that? Because I like bourbon and barbecue. So come on along, let's have some fun, and we'll get started right after this message from Argonaut Wine and Liquor. Argonaut Wine and Liquor. It's where the party begins. Whether you're watching the big game or hosting friends and family for the holidays, Argonaut has everything you need to get the party started. Great wine at a great price. The best beers from across America. Buffalo Trace Bourbon. Argonaut has it all with over 15,000 items in the store. From friendly advice to a quick checkout, Argonaut has it. Conveniently located on East Colfax with plenty of free parking, make Argonaut your first stop for a great weekend. Need a hand in your party plans? Argonaut delivers. Take it from me and go see my friend Ron Vaughn at Argonaut Wine and Liquor, or order straight from the website at argonautliquor.com.
I like when the bees start to bumble, the beats start to wrestle, summer breeze never hurt anyone.
You're listening to the Kickin' It with Kiz pod with me, knucklehead, Mark Kiszla, sports columnist at the Denver Post. And I want to talk to you about UFC 296 live from Las Vegas on Saturday night. And in addition to all the mayhem, why is it so important to us right here in Colorado? Well, Brandon Royval, Colorado native, Denver's own, has a chance to become the very first Denver fighter to win a UFC title. He has a chance to do it in the flyweight division. Brandon likes to be called Raw Dog. He's 125 pounds of don't want to mess with him. And I had a chance recently to sit down and chat with him a little bit at his gym while I was training for this bout. You'll hear some training action, some pop, pop, pop in the background. So don't let that distract you. Listen to what Brandon has to say, and I think you'll enjoy it. I'm told that this journey, this adventure to try to become the UFC champ began on a bicycle. Is that true, or is that urban myth?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely was riding my bike to go training. I actually rode my bike 13 miles to the gym and 13 miles home. And then sometimes, Colorado sucks, so it'll be like winter and it's cold, it's all that. So if my mom couldn't pick me up or something like that, I was just riding back home. I actually forgot how far I had to ride until she reminded me recently.
Okay.
How far I had to go and just the journey to get there.
Okay, what was the bike?
I still have the bike to this day. I still
Do
have
you?
it. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. It's just like some heavy mountain bike.
Okay, so at least you had fat tires, so if you had to do the snow or the wind or the rain, you were at least equipped that way.
Yeah, I would ride through a park. What is that? That Bear Creek Park?
Yeah.
Bear Creek Park. One time I ate it like halfway in between the park and broke my bike. and I had to carry that thing all the way through the park to like get to like a place where I could get picked up at, make a call or whatever it is. So it took me like 2 miles of me carrying my bike home, or to civilization where I could make a phone call. But yeah, I had a lot of adventures on that bike.
Oh, and when did you get into mixed martial arts?
When I was like long into it, like mentally, and like, you know, I was boxing people around me. I was obsessed with it. When I started training, I was 15 or I was 16.
And how old are you now?
31.
So you've devoted a solid half your life to this.
100%. It gave me everything. I've sacrificed so much to just be at this part of my sport.
What attracted you to this sport?
I feel like I was always into like some sort of pugilism, you know what I'm saying? Like I was always into boxing. I was a huge boxing fan. And then I boxed with my brother all the time. And he started like adding submissions to it. So he like, if I got close to him, he'd grab my neck or he'd grab something and start choking me. What are you doing, you know? And like I would watch mixed martial arts and I watched kickboxing and stuff, but I was never a fan of kicking, and then I was also never a fan of the grappling part.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't like it. You know, you're a boxing fan, you just think that's kind of lame, you know? So I was always just mad when he would do stuff like that. And then I figured out at a certain point I was at such a disadvantage when we fight that I was like, all right, I gotta learn something. So then I quit fast forwarding through all the ground game and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like I was learning stuff off of just like watching TV. So when I went in and tried my first martial arts class, I was already kind of knowing the moves. Like I already kind of had a lot of things figured out a little bit, like to a degree, you know. Like I wasn't that good, but if I was going against an average person, I was submitting them for sure.
Well, that's interesting to me. Is that, I mean, you're still a young man, but you had the old school mentality that in your mind as a kid you were a boxer and then evolved into mixed martial arts, and that is not what I would have guessed. But it's cool that that's where you came from, at least mentally.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like every little Mexican, like I had the Fernando Vargas haircut. I had my head shaved and then I had like the bangs.
Yeah.
But I feel like every like little Mexican kid was a boxing fan to a degree, you know? And that's like that was our thing. We boxed all the time. Right.
I read a quote from you. This is all you ever wanted. How true is that?
Yeah, I feel like just like this is my purpose, you know, like my purpose for waking up in the morning. I'm not saying like, you know, like MMA is something important or like, you know, or like I'm doing anything more than just being a fighter, but like I feel like this is my reason for waking up every morning. Like if I didn't have MMA, I didn't know what else I'd be chasing after, but I wake up early, excited, and ready to go kind of chase the dream. And you know, the lifespan of an MMA fighter is so short, so it's like you gotta capitalize it, and it's like I would never cheat that at all, you know? Like I would never cheat that recipe, or I would never cheat myself with this dream.
Okay, so at 31, are you young, old, in your prime?
Yeah, I feel like I got like maybe 4 more years if I want to. I want to win a belt, defend it a couple times, and then just pursue something else in life, because I've given my all to this, you know?
And that's not easy. I mean, when you got into this sport, if I understand correctly, you didn't quite have the vision of I'm going to be a champion someday. But what did you want to do in this sport?
Honestly, I just wanted to beat up my brother. If we're being real and like short of like what my first goals were is a couple wrestlers at my school wanted to beat me up, and then also I just wanted to get one up on my brother. Yeah. And I love martial arts. Like I was really passionate about martial arts. I love learning stuff. I loved working out. I loved like how hard fighting was. Like a fight was so like difficult to do. So anytime we were fighting, it was like I would get tired and like so that was like kind of just like it was something to like I don't know put my heart into a little bit.
Okay. You've mentioned the brother a couple times. I assume this is an older brother.
Yeah.
How much older? You got to give a little shout out here, you know, because if that's how it started, the goal was to beat up your older brother. You got to give him a shout out.
Yeah. Always. Me and him would like. I had bad shoulder issues when I was younger, but him and I would go to a martial arts class. this is the first summer I did it. I'd go to martial arts class. I would go home, teach him what I learned, and then me and him would go drill it, and then we'd fight until my shoulder dislocated.
What?
We'd fight for like an hour straight.
Yeah.
And like we weren't trying to hurt each other completely, but like
But
we were
it
working
happened.
out and we were trying to train and we were trying to get good, and like we didn't know how to go about it besides just fighting each other all the time. So it was like,
Your shoulder coming out of socket, that's just collateral damage there. I mean, it's part of the deal.
and that's exactly, my shoulder would come out of the socket, he'd put it back in, and then we go shower and chill, like we're just, and then we'd be done for the day.
And
Practice.
how old are you at this time when you?
16 probably.
Okay, all right. So you knew pain was part of the game from the start.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and you gotta mention your brother's name. I mean,
My brother's name's Jerry.
okay, all right. I wasn't gonna let you go without you actually speaking his name. So, I've read your nickname's Raw Dog. Is that right or no?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and where did that come from?
It came from, I have 7 kids, and at an early age, and just kind of been going from there,
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Some drunk.
7 kids. So you don't have 7 kids.
I have 0 kids. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I was just like-
Because the whole conversation was going to take a different bend if we had to talk about 7 kids. Okay, kid number 1's name. No, yeah. I was like, you got me though.
Yeah. A drunken fan was just yelling "Raw Dog" over and over again at a fight or something of that sort, and I could be mistaken. It's been years ago.
Yeah.
And we were just like, "Oh yeah, Raw Dog and Royval" or whatever, and just kind of making jokes on it.
Yeah.
And then finally, I went in and then entered as my nickname, and I knocked some dude out, and then they put it on national television, and from there it's been rolling.
Yeah, you had no choice after that.
Yeah. I tried to get rid of it a few times.
Yeah.
I was like, hopefully I'm gonna get called up to the UFC, and they would never approve of this.
Yeah.
And then before I was getting called up to the UFC for sure, I was like, I'm gonna get rid of this, and then definitely if I ever become a champion, they're never gonna approve that.
Yeah.
And now we're here, and I'm still running up Royval.
Okay. And we can thank some drunk fan.
Yeah, you can thank someone. I think it was my friend's. It was my friend's roommate.
Okay. So you at least actually knew, did know the person. Yeah. It wasn't just some rando.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to know. You worked in the juvenile justice system?
Yeah, for years.
Tell me about that.
It was my favorite job I've ever had. I mean, I like being a UFC fighter for sure, but I feel like I would definitely take a lot home with me, for sure. I feel like...
What did you do?
I was basically a security guard at it. That was the long and short answer of it, or the short answer of it.
Yeah.
But the long answer of it is just you're literally in a let's say I'm in a juvenile facility. I have 15 kids around me, 16 kids around me, maybe 20, and it's me hanging out with them all day.
Okay.
So virtually I was I was a security guard to make sure things were safe, but it was just I was just kind of there to provide I don't know, safety, but was never my mission was to be a security guard or get people in trouble or anything like that. It was definitely to aid, help people's lives, try to help, and I've had so many good interactions through there, and not that much success, but I feel like that's just the juvenile system and the way some people's lives are set up. But I don't know. I feel like that job was very eye-opening, very sad at times, and just one of the, and it was also just one of the funnest jobs too. It's just hanging out with teenagers, kids, up to 21 years old, because the adult system doesn't take juvies until 21. So I was just hanging out with these kids all day, and it was fun. You learn a lot about them. You learn a lot about society. You learn a lot about everything. Honestly.
Why you said, interesting to me, you said you took it home with you. How come? And I mean, I have some idea, but you tell me.
Even to this day, I mean, I haven't been in the system, or I haven't been working directly with any of these kids, or at least at Lookout for 3 years. And I've seen a lot of them pass away. I've seen a lot of them overdose. I've seen them get arrested again. I've seen Some of them commit murder. I've seen all sorts of them. The kids that, you know, you see so much. When you look at the youth and then you see people and you see it for what it is, and what it is just like a bunch of people who've been dealt a rough hand. Right. Being 100% honest. And it's like there was very few kids who had very supportive parents, very like a very great background, and was in lookout.
Right.
In my opinion, there was like one or two that are like, I made a mistake that day, and I can't believe that I'm here. Like there was one or two of those. For the most part, they were put into a system and born into a life that set them up for that. And it's like I feel like some people, especially some of the security guards that work there, or some people from an outside perspective, are like, well, they need to change their ways. They need to do this, but it's like, if that was so easy, if it was so easy to do all that, then why are they making movies on stuff like that? Why are they making, like, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, these kids were born into, like, I feel like one of the best examples I could give is just, I had maybe this 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and he looked 10 years old. Like, he looked young. Yeah. And he had tattoos all up on his legs, and, like, just tattoos everywhere. And I was like, after, like, a year of knowing him, and finally I was like, dude, who in their right mind, what tattoo artist in their right mind would give you a tattoo, bro? And he goes, oh, my uncle did. And I was like, your uncle did? He goes, yeah, my uncle did this to me. And I was like, and they're all gang tattoos. Oh, wow. And it was just like, he was born into that lifestyle. And it's like, you can have all the most positive conversations, and you want to, you try, and you got to, you try to, you got to, you want to stay positive, you want to see, like, this kid, and he's still in the system, he's still actually in the juvie. But this kid's a true leader. Like, this kid was running stuff at 13 years old. Yeah. At 13 years old, he had the whole entire everybody in check. I can't imagine how he has it now. But that being said, is at that young of an age, he had such a say in how everything went that you see that. But then you also got to realize that this kid's, once he gets released, is going right back into the same exact people, around the same exact system, around all that stuff. No matter how many positive things he's doing in there, he goes out back into that environment, and it's like, I've seen a handful of them change for sure. I've seen a handful of them do great things, and I see a handful of them take the opposite approach, or even like do like, things of that sort. But it's hard.
You fight for the championship December 16th. When did you first think that was possible?
I had probably like 2 fights into the UFC where I was like, I think I'm better than all these guys, honestly.
How long ago was that?
Like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Okay. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I just wanted to get to the UFC. I didn't know if it was gonna last. I didn't know if it was gonna work out. I didn't know anything. I just wanted to be there. You know, I wanted the opportunity to be there. And even when I took my first fight, I was like, probably gonna lose this fight, but I made it. I got the shirt. Okay. I could tell somebody. I could tell my kids later on that I made it to the UFC, and I was like, I don't really care what happens, but I'm gonna give it my all. And then I won the fight, and I was like, almost shocked, you know, almost shocked. Really? And I was also just disappointed in how I performed, because I was like, I actually could fight better than that. Yeah. And then the next fight, I liked the matchup, and then I went out there and I demolished him, and he was number 7 in the world. And when I beat him, I was like, I think I'm better than a lot of these guys, and I'm putting everything on a pedestal. I'm not giving myself the respect that I put into the sport, and the love that I put in the sport, and the hard work that I put into my craft and devoted to my craft. But I put a cap on myself. I feel like coaches like that, where you gotta like believe in yourself too much. That was very late for me. Yeah,
I mean you're well into your 20s then.
Yeah. I was in my late 20s, and I was just like, maybe I'll make it to the UFC, and now it'll be cool, you know? And it's just like, I didn't want to stop doing the sport. Like, I just loved the sport. So it was like, I was going to train no matter what. I wanted to fight no matter what. I knew I was good. I did not know I was going to ever get to the UFC. I wasn't 100% sure I was going to get to the UFC. But once I got there, I was like, okay, this is all becoming, like, I've had, and like, even when I was younger, I trained with like a UFC guy in my weight class, and I was doing really good against him. And in my head that day, I was like, I think I'm good. Like, I think I'm going to be good. Like, I think I could be good. This could be an option, you know? Yeah. And I had little moments like that along the way. But when I finally was just like, dang, I could be a champion, was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. For my benefit and and the listeners to this podcast, who are you fighting on December 16th? Tell me about
I'm
it.
fighting Alexandre Pantoja, who's the current UFC flyweight champion. Yeah, he's just on a crazy win streak right now. He's from Brazil, and yeah.
Okay. And you've crossed paths before.
Yeah, I've fought this man before. I felt like that was one of those other eye-opening things too, is just watching this guy. Not only did he beat me, but then have success afterwards was one of those things that's like, in the middle of our fight, I was finding so much success. I lost the fight still, but I found so much success in the middle of that loss that I was like, I know I can win that fight. I know I can beat that guy. And it's like, not only are you happy for to watch someone achieve their dreams is incredible. To watch somebody achieve their dreams, this is a good person too. But also it's like, I brushed shoulders with him, and it's like, in my head that day, I made a mistake that caused my demise, but I know I can beat that guy. And yeah, so watching his success meant more success for me in my head, where I was like,
Really?
Yeah.
You lost that fight, and then you saw his success, and you actually gained some confidence or strength
in
from
that fight too. Is like, that was a fight I should have won. Like, there was moments in that fight where I had him in a rough position, and I just let it slip out of my hands, and I put myself in a really bad position that caused me to lose the fight. And I learned so much off of that, but also it was just like the best knowledge gained from that fight and from him winning the belt was I belong there. I belong at the top of the division.
Yeah. And why are you going to win this time?
I'm going to win this time because I have improved drastically. Not only have I improved drastically, but I feel like I've just gotten so much smarter, and I've learned myself along the way, you know? And it's like, I feel like being a champion in the UFC is definitely a goal, but mastering life is really what you want to do as a human being, as a fighter. And I'm learning these lessons I'm learning these lessons from fights that I could take along the way. And I feel like the lessons that I learned throughout there, I took into my life, and I took it into fighting. And altogether, it just made me not only a better man, but a better fighter. And I feel like I can't thank anybody more than Alexandre Pantoja.
Really?
Yeah.
Sincerely?
He's my only real loss.
Yeah.
I've had losses. Of course. But as far as like my only real loss in the UFC, and then he's my only loss in the UFC, I would consider. But also just like the only loss that like he actually, like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, he beat me.
Okay.
I can't say anything else about it. You know?
But that loss, do you feel it gives you a better chance to win this fight?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think he thinks he'll be able to do what he did last time, and I just evolved and changed 100%.
Okay. People listening to this podcast are hearing the snap, crackle, pop of people. Of people working in the background, and that's kind of the rhythm of your life, is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. I could tune this noise out all day. This is what I hear all day, every day. My dog, I have a dog. All he knows is these noises around us.
Yeah.
The music here, the people screaming at each other, the chaos around. It's like, it's funny because if somebody ever broke into my house and then saw me fighting him, he's probably just going to sit back and relax, like, oh, it's just another day in his life.
That's right.
Yeah. Nothing would happen. So.
Yeah. What's the best thing about this life to you?
It's a good question. I just feel like the best thing about like what's going on with me right now, and the best thing about my life right now, is just showing what consistency, hard work, and like pouring your love into something can do. Because I'll never like I've had so many people that are like, who I've seen dreams get discouraged and then listen to it, and I've seen so many people that were like, dude, this is not a good idea, like go to school, go do something else, you know. And I remember like in my head I'm like, yeah, maybe I should, maybe this won't be worth it, maybe this is all gonna mean nothing, you know, and I'll never get anywhere with any of this. That being said, is I did exactly what I wanted to do. I'm making good money doing it, and I'm exactly where I wanted to be when I was 15 years old. If I could look back and see where I'm at now, I would have been so happy. When I first started this year, I've been so happy. And I had so many people along the way. And I had the opposite, of course, but I had people along the way that are like, how long are you going to do this for? Are you sure you want to do this? This is a bad idea.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that's interesting to me is that, I mean, if you take a different path than what most people do, outside voices are going to say, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
But it sounds like to me that more than once you had to confront a little bit of doubt within yourself and defeat that. And to me, there would be great satisfaction in that and not giving up on the dream or yourself or any of that.
Yeah, never quitting on yourself for sure. And it's just like, to me, it's like, there's plenty of successful people that are making good money and living the life that maybe they want to live, or like, they're just very successful people out there. And it's like, but I'm successful in what I love, and I got to be grateful for that every day. I wake up grateful. There was a time where I was working a full-time job, trying to make practice work, and then trying to get sleep anywhere in between time.
Yeah. And
it's like, I wake up every day so grateful that I'm like, that's not my life anymore. My life's so much different, and I get to wake up at 8 a.m. compared to 5 a.m. or whatever it was, and I don't know. I feel like I've seen people that are like, went to school, and when my friends were graduating or people around me were graduating from school, I remember thinking them like, I messed up so bad, but now I look at them and they are like not like they're unsuccessful or anything,
right?
Like, but they didn't go for what they really wanted to go for, and like that sucks too, because they were discouraged by an outside voice, and it's like that this is possible. This is really possible, and it's like. If you pour your heart into something, you love it to the fullest, and you give it your all, there's no cap on life,
All right. What would it mean for a Denver native to be a UFC champ? What would that mean to you?
I mean, it'd be significant, not to just be like a representative of Denver, but just showing people that it's possible, like showing the kids around me, and even like the MMA community around me that like it's possible, these kids at this gym, at the gyms over next to us, all that stuff that like you go for it. Like, this isn't just happening in other people in other countries and all the main fight places and all these big gyms. It's like this could happen for you right here, so that would mean the world to me.
Let me tell you about Midwest One Bank for all your business and online banking needs. Midwest One is conveniently located at 19th and Wynkoop, which is right next to Coors Field. But the reason to bank at Midwest One is the personal attention and expertise that you will get from my friends Kevin Conroy and Joe Van Haslen. When it's time to get down to business, let their decades of knowledge in Denver business go to work for you. Don't get one banker's advice, but tap into the entire winning team that Kevin and Joe have put together at Midwest One. Let them help you put your vision and dreams into reality. Midwest One, the bank for all your business needs. Go see Kevin and Joe. They bring a personal approach to commercial banking at Midwest One. Simply better banking. Welcome back into the Kickin with Kiz pod, brought to you by my good friends at Argonaut Wine and Liquor, Buffalo Trace, and Midwest One Bank. This is the Take Your Best Shot segment, which I fondly refer to as the worst gambling vice in Colorado, if not all of America. If you take gambling seriously, maybe this is the wrong segment for you. If you view gambling as having a little fun, I'll have a little fun with you. Let's talk about the Broncos. The Broncos are on a roll. At 1-5, they were dead in the water as far as the playoffs were concerned. But listen. I looked at these odds and listen to these odds now. I'm pounding my paper here. I can't believe what I'm seeing. To make the playoffs at this point, the Broncos are only plus 115. You got to put down $100 to win $115 just for them to make the playoffs. The odds to win the AFC West and pass the Chiefs are plus 750. And if you're dreaming really big, the odds to win the Super Bowl are now plus 8,000. Put down 100 and you can take home $8,000 if the Broncos raise that Vince Lombardi trophy at the end of the season. So how big do you dream with these Broncos? Just to make the playoffs at plus 115? I think they'll make the playoffs. So if you're confident, go ahead. But the most fun bet here is the craziness that they could actually pass the Chiefs and win the AFC West for the first time since 2015. Chiefs have won it every year since. Plus 750? I don't know if they can pass the Chiefs, but it's an interesting proposition. Let's also talk about this game against the Lions, which is very important. Not as important for playoff implications in the AFC as beating the three other AFC teams that remain on the Broncos schedule. But important nonetheless, because this is the best team on paper anyway that the Broncos have left on their schedule, and a win on the road against Detroit would be huge. The Broncos, depending on where you look, are getting 4 points or 5 points against the spread. And the money line is a very healthy plus 190. You decide if you're going to make those plays. I want to talk a little bit about our good buddy Jerry Jeudy, the enigma, the wide receiver that makes us scratch our head. He obviously has great talent. There are few receivers in the league that can create the separation on routes that Jerry Jeudy does. But then he does something like he did against the Chargers. He gets open in the end zone. He reaches up for the ball. He makes what appears to be a good reception, and his focus is lacking. His focus is such that he doesn't get both feet in bounds, and it didn't appear that that would be difficult to do. He just lost the focus to do it. That lack of focus also tends to explain the fact that Jerry Jeudy drops more passes than you would like, or I'm sure Russell Wilson would like, or Sean Payton would like. So what's the prop bets on Jerry Jeudy against the Lions? Receptions, the over-under is 3.5. Do I think Jerry Jeudy's going to catch 4 passes against the Lions? Well, I wouldn't bet on it, that's for sure. He's only caught 4 passes, at least 4 passes in 1/3 of the 12 games he's played this season. The prop bet that's a little more interesting to me is the over-under on receiving yards, which I've seen as 44.5 yards. Judy's done that in 7 of the 12 games he's played in this year. If I remember correctly, if we remember correctly, he didn't play in the season opener against the Raiders. But in the 12 games since, he's caught at least 44.5 yards receiving in 7 of the 12 games. A little more than 50%. And what I like about this idea is Jerry Jeudy's catches tend to be chunk plays, 20 yards plus. He catches one ball for Russell Wilson for 30, 35 yards. He's only got to catch one more probably to get to 44.5. Would you actually gamble on Jerry Jeudy producing in a critical game against the Lions? I guess that gets to the heart of the idea of, is Jerry Jeudy a core player for this team going forward? If you think no, don't go anywhere near that prop bet. And if you think yes, that Jerry Jeudy just needs a chance to shine, might be worth your dime. Hey, I know you all are proud Bronco maniacs. Me? I'm a proud bourbon geek. If football is America's game, bourbon is America's drink. And one of the best bourbons in America is Buffalo Trace, available at Argonaut Wine and Liquor. Found in the heart of bourbon country, next to the Kentucky River, is Buffalo Trace, the world's most revered distillery. After covering the game for the Denver Post, I love to sit back, relax, and sip on a fine bourbon. Buffalo Trace is great in a cocktail and even better on the rocks. Want to talk sports with me? Pour me a drink and make it Buffalo Trace. And now, back to the show. This is my favorite segment, not only because I get to do it with my son, Nate Kiszla, but because I talk about things that I love even more than football, bourbon and barbecue. Today we're going to be talking about bourbon and something very important to a bourbon drinker, I think. To cube or not to cube. Now, when I have my bourbon, I pour it over a big rock of ice. That's not usually how you have it, though, my son, right?
No, I like it neat, or if anything, just a couple drops of water help it open up, and that's about it. I don't like to get it more and more watered down, and I think you learned a thing or two from people that knew about dark spirits when you went over to, Scotland and tried to ask for ice there.
Yeah. I love traveling the world, and I love experiencing new cultures, and I love living life differently than I live here day to day in America. But one thing that makes me thoroughly American is that I love my ice. And you get to Europe, and they feel like ice is not really necessary, especially in Scotland. I went to Scotland to cover the British Open golf tournament. I, needed my brown whiskey, so I went into a well-known little tavern and said, pour me a shot of whiskey, and he brings me out a snifter, and could I have a rocks glass and maybe some ice in there? And I can't do a Scottish accent, but this guy acted as mean and angry as Shrek, and he says, no, you will not ruin my brown whiskey with a cube of ice. He did give me a little pewter creamer size, like you would put coffee creamer in, mm-hmm. Except he put some ice cold water in there, mm-hmm. Not ice in the water, but very cold water. And he says, if you want to ruin your scotch by pouring a little water in it, go ahead, but I will let you water it down, but I will not let you put it over ice, because he didn't want to change the flavors, mm-hmm. and the potency, mm-hmm. and the characteristics that the distiller took time to develop, by putting it over ice.
That's kind of where I side too, is if there's too much time, too much intention, too much art that goes into a bottle of good bourbon, of good whiskey, of any spirit like that, if you want to alter it with your own thing, you don't know more than the guy that made it. You don't know how to drink it.
I don't.
At that point,
that's what makes me American. I know more than everybody in every part of the world.
There you have it.
Yeah.
I think it helps some of them where there's a really dense flavor profile to open it up. Like I said, just a couple drops of water, and that's the way I like to do it sometimes, and most of the time it's just neat. But if you want it cold, then it's December here in Colorado. You can go stand outside and drink it.
Okay, yeah, that will cool me right down. And I do like bourbon for the burn at the back.
Yeah.
So part of the appeal of bourbon is not an ice cold drink, mm-hmm. or to cool me down.
Exactly.
I do. So a lot of times, what I would do, especially with a bourbon I haven't tried before, mm-hmm. I will, not a shot, not even an ounce, mm-hmm. just barely a sip. I'll pour it into a glass, swirl it, look at the color, mm-hmm. Smell it, get the nose of it, and chew it like I'm supposed to, mm-hmm. and take that first sip to decide my initial impressions. And then I usually pour it over a big cube of ice. And part of what I like is it as that ice slowly melts. And that's why I like the big cube. Mm-hmm. It does change a little bit. So my story is I'm seeing how the bourbon changes as it reacts to another essential ingredient of this earth, water.
There you have it. I think every time I drink it, even if I've kept the, bourbon to water ratio the same with a couple drops or just drinking it neat, I find something different in it anyways. So I like keeping it just constant and seeing what I can go find rather than letting it change over time.
All right, you're a purist and I'm American. So cheers. Here's to you.
Enjoy your cue.
Okay. Let me tell you about Midwest One Bank for all your business and online banking needs. Midwest One is conveniently located at 19th and Wynkoop, which is right next to Coors Field. But the reason to bank at Midwest One is the personal attention and expertise that you will get from my friends Kevin Conroy and Joe Van Haslen. When it's time to get down to business, let their decades of knowledge in Denver business go to work for you. Don't get one banker's advice, but tap into the entire winning team that Kevin and Joe have put together at Midwest One. Let them help you put your vision and dreams into reality. Midwest One, the bank for all your business needs. Go see Kevin and Joe. They bring a personal approach to commercial banking at Midwest One. Simply better banking. And today's parting shot is aimed directly at me by Gus, who lives in Walsenburg, Colorado. Gus takes exception to the fact that I'm complimenting the Broncos now that they're on a roll toward the playoffs. Gus writes, I think sports writers should get benched too. If you spent all your energy trying to trash this Broncos team earlier in the season as hopeless, Kiz, you shouldn't be allowed to write complimentary columns in the same year. It's very unserious. Okay, I'll take that into consideration. Number one, before the season, I was crazy enough to predict the Broncos would finish 10-7 and make the playoffs under Sean Payton. Now, once they gave up 70 points in the game and got off to a 1-5 start in the standings, I was highly critical. This is true. That's the way it works. And now that they're on a roll and look like they have at least a 50-50 chance to make the playoffs, I've eaten my crow, sent my flowers to Vance Joseph and Russell Wilson, and stood up and applauded them. I think that's the right thing to do, and that's why I've done it. Oh, and by the way, sports by nature are an unserious thing for somebody like me. Of course, guys, football guys, that really get upset about cutaway shots of Taylor Swift cheering in the Chiefs stadium, they don't like the idea that sports are fun in games. Football is serious to them, and maybe to you, Gus. And I understand that. That's our show for today, the Kickin' It with Kiz pod. It's brought to you by Argonaut Wine and Liquor, Buffalo Trace Bourbon, good, and my good friends at Midwest One Bank. Keep this in mind. We're all knuckleheads. So lend a hand when you can.
I like when the bees start to bumble, the beat start to wrestle. Summer breeze never hurt anyone. I like when I see all the couples that feet start to shuffle as they're dancing to their favorite songs. Beautiful day, you cannot steal my joy. Get out my face, don't wanna hear that noise, so go away. I'll walk you to the door. This is a place without war. Please tell me what you want from me. Wait a minute, I think I got a hunch indeed. I'm happy and misery likes company, but on that lonely road I can't accompany so much tranquility. Why would I want to leave? The only thing that's blue here is the sky and beach. You must be new here, let me assign your seat, help you find your peace.
I like when the bees start to bumble, the lead start to wrestle. Summer breeze never hurt anyone. I like when I see all the couples, their feet start to shuffle as they're dancing to their favorite song.
Yes, Lord, late night drives on the back road. Shawty need a light for a backwood. Later in the night, she go backward. After that, take her back home, back up. Shawty got the back up. Argue every day, dog swear I was back up. Two-way street, I was sorry, I was backed up. I'll make love, we back up. That's a bad dad joke, money ain't my sad joke. Working on my shadow, couldn't be no more proud of my own biggest doubter. I'm still man of the hour, sharing in my head, I'm quietly the loudest. Wow, as dumb as it sounds, I'd be proud as a child now to see where I'm at